Hi. This is a podcast. What was that? All right, this is riveting podcast material. Oh God. This. Welcome to Don't Get Your Hopes Up.
I've been waiting to pour that. Oh man, all day.
All day, yeah. I have a half of a brewery sour fruit available.
Yeah, but half a puberty thing going too. What was that little?
Okay, so hello everyone. I was AFK cookies for the past couple of weeks, and I also had a cold, so I apologize for my deep, sultry, coming off of a cold voice. Actually, it's a little bit more like half-assed Batman voice at the moment.
It's like,
why do you want to kill me?
A 14-year-old impersonating Batman voice.
It's really bad. Anyway, my name is Josh Allen, a.k.a. Lore. Joining me, as always, is Mr. Mike B., a.k.a. Fony.
Yeah.
Except for that one time when there was another guy here, but that's not today, so suck it.
Throw back to that one time we had a guest. What the hell?
I don't know why I thought that was worth mentioning.
Thanks for coming, Scott. Appreciate it. That one time 5 episodes ago.
We're really good at podcasts. This is how you can tell that we're professionals.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah. In the industry, you can tell by how much we don't give a shit. And ironically, that's actually a fairly true statement. So yeah, I was AFK last week. I went to England. That was fun. Liv's brother was getting married, so I got to go over there and hang out, meet a bunch of her family, and do the whole wedding thing, you know. And she wander around England a little bit, fly a World War II.
I was gonna say she let you borrow one of her planes or something.
Yeah. No, that was super cool. I'm gonna be honest. That's probably that's easily the highlight of this year.
It's such a cool shot, and
yeah,
like it was. I mean, like the video that you posted, it's so fucking cool. Like yeah, like the get up and everything, the goggles and
the goggles, which do nothing for the record, like literally do nothing for the record. I put them on for just a moment because my contacts were drying out, which is where I got my new Twitter avatar from, and my contacts still dried out, so I just took them back off again. But yeah, it was cool. I got to go up in a World War II Spitfire and fly around in the air for a little bit, do a couple of barrel rolls, press Z.
Does it feel like press Z? Does it feel like flying a Volkswagen, like shaky and just like not? It's because it's so small, so light, and like
it. Yeah, it was a little bit shaky for sure. Like especially when it starts up and starts going. Like it has that sort of someone's just started their, like it actually sounded like when it starts, it sounded like one of those 60s motorcycles, like the one that the 60s military motorcycles that have the sort of brum,
like an Indiana Jones flick or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like it starts up and it sounds like that, and I was like, whoa, I was expecting it to sound like an airplane, but instead it sounds like a lawnmower. What's going on? But yeah, like you start flying, it's really loud, and it's really, really cool, and like in the air it's actually pretty smooth. Like the guy that was actually flying it, I wasn't at that. They didn't let me actually fly the World War II Spitfire.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah. It's worth more than me, so I don't feel too bad about that. But yeah, the guy he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, it's so shaky. Oh, the weather," and I'm like, "This is actually smoother than my flight to England, like on a professional airliner, which are supposed to be smooth." But yeah, it was really, really fun, and that is definitely that is me kicking my bucket list's ass. Yeah.
That's awesome. Like that's
Yeah, it
really
was
cool.
really
So
cool.
and then you also got a chance to just kind of like explore, and you've been there before with Liv.
Yeah, a couple
So
times.
it's like I mean you're just like yeah I go to England all the time, man. I mean like what like
Yeah,
just kind of always there. Um,
yeah,
well that's cool.
yeah. It was fun.
And I see that like every time so I feel like every time you go with Olivia, obviously,
Hmm.
like there's this possibility that or there's this like phenomenon that happens where she kind of reabsorbs her like her English energies or whatever, and
Yes,
she comes back like
yes.
re-energized, right?
She comes back 70% more British.
Right. Yes. I mean, because I should like track this shit because I swear every time you guys come back from like a trip or she comes back from it's like she really doesn't like the U.S. and she really doesn't like how you do your tea and like there's
In fairness, I did my tea pretty retardedly.
I was following that thread and I was like, I don't understand all of this. I just put the thing in the Keurig and I hit the button and it makes the tea, which she probably hates.
when you no, she's actually fine with that sort of thing. Like she actually uses like a Nespresso, which is like a Keurig, to make coffee.
Uh-huh.
But like when you make tea, especially when you're making loose leaf tea with an infuser, which is what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to you put the tea in the infuser, you put that in the thing that you're infusing, and then you pour hot water over that. Like you put the infuser in the receptacle, and then you pour the hot water over that. And the reason you do that is so that as the hot water hits the tea and flows through it, you end up pulling more of the tea flavor out of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually like there's science and shit behind it. I was being lazy though at work, and like I needed to wash my mug because it had just been sitting on my desk for a week and a half, and I didn't entirely trust that. Excuse me, because as you can tell, I'm already a little bit sick,
Right.
so I didn't need to make it any worse. So I grabbed the mug and I went into the break room, and I like it was just washing it out and everything, and I was like, I don't want to go back to my desk, fill this with tea, do that whole thing, and then come back here. So I just put hot water in the mug and walked back, and then did the whole tea thing there. That was a bad idea. Did not work very well. What I ended up with was some disappointing tea.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, went to England, hung out, came back, got a cold, almost died.
Well, welcome back. That's
Yeah.
what you get. That's what you get right there.
Yeah. So speaking of Spitfires,
Mm-hmm.
by which I mean speaking of World War II, by which I mean speaking of Nazi Germany, by which I mean speaking of Hitler, by which I mean speaking of Godwin's Law, by which I mean speaking of things that inevitably come up in conversations. So Destiny might have a new expansion coming.
So, damn it. So we put these in order before the show,
Yeah.
and I guess I forgot because usually we go in order. Sometimes
Yeah.
we skip, but apparently it's just wherever you want to go with it. So now I'm left here guessing.
Yeah.
That was beautiful, man. That was good.
Yeah.
So yeah, Destiny's potential maybe, and also kind of maybe not expansion.
So this is based entirely off of some picture that showed up on it. Well, two pictures that showed up on Imgur.
In
which
what?
are
In what?
Imager.
Oh, okay. That's I thought
I'm-
I thought you
I'm
said
Gur.
Imgur. I'm sorry. I thought maybe I heard you say Imgur or whatever. But yeah, go ahead.
I did say Imgur because that's how I pronounce that. I also say GIF.
Fight. No, GIF. I'm cool with GIF actually.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay, so anyway, so
Because I'm not a choosy mom, so I do not choose GIF.
does anyone else remember the night?
Yeah, I just made a reference for 3 people. I'm glad that you at least seem to have recognized it. Otherwise, that was just going to be like, oh, I guess Laura's not a mother. Well, good to know. But yeah, no, so I'm reading this off of Destiny DB because it's apparently been removed from everywhere else.
Mhm.
But there's this picture which seems to be Lord Saladin, who's the guy in charge of the Iron Banner, also potentially in charge of the vegetarian options at the Guardian Tower. The Saladin is just such a weird. It's a paladin made out of salad. Okay,
right.
It's a vegan paladin. That's what he is. And that's just a very funny idea to me. Anyway, so he seems to be. He's got some sort of like weapon which is on fire. He's wearing a very Game of Thrones looking fur cloak, standing next to some very Game of Thrones looking wolves, in front of a very Game of Thrones looking wall. So you can kind of tell that maybe there's some Game of Thrones reference here. Mm-hmm. And just the words Destiny, Rise of Iron. So what people are theorizing based on this picture that showed up, and the only reason that I think this is even remotely worth talking about on this show is because there are actually two pictures of this that have showed up, and the order in which they appeared lends it some plausibility. The first one that showed up is kind of this weird, like, half-angled, like, phone picture of this, what looks like a poster. Mm-hmm. And then the other one is more of, like, a full, like, straight-on picture of it.
So, real quick, don't mean to interrupt, but I'm just going through, I was kind of curious, like, looking at Reddit, see if people are, like, reposting this thing. And so this is news to me. This is like 3 hours old, really, or updated. Yeah, just very recently, actually, just a couple hours ago. Kotaku is reporting as they have sources that say that have details on this whole thing. So Destiny DB is making it it reads like it looks pretty fake, right? Or it looks like it could be fake. Like someone maybe possibly printed it out. And
I love I just want to call out this sentence on the Destiny DB article because it's a very silly sentence. They said, the only way this story could be false now is if someone created their own image and printed it. Okay. Chances of that, no one would do that. No one would ever do that. But yeah, anyway, carry on.
Yeah, so they're saying that Rise of Iron's raid is loosely based on the raid that was cut from last year's House of Wolves DLC, according to sources. At one point, Bungie had planned to launch it in April, but it was delayed a while back. The expansion, which is expected to be in September, should be officially revealed at E3. So I have officially retired from Destiny because I don't like the bullshit that's been happening the past several months. Nobody really likes what's been happening in Destiny for the past several months. But I will totally come back for a full-fledged expansion with a raid.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought as well. Like, for a full-fledged expansion with it, like, if they came out with something that could hold on to my attention the way that King's Fall did, or what the fuck was that expansion even called?
Just King's Fall.
Yeah, King's Fall I don't remember the name of the Destiny expansion now. The Taken King. There we go. If it can hold my attention the way that the Taken King did, I'm actually fine with that. I'm willing to spend $40 for that? I feel that I got my $40 worth out of the Taken King easily.
Yep.
Including that's not even counting the fact that I bought a second PlayStation for it. But yeah, like I felt like that money was money well spent, and sure, I might end up playing it for a little bit and then stop. A month later, 2 months later, but I'm okay with that. Like, that's totally fine. I really wish that these expansions would stop coming out immediately before I have to travel a lot for work, like every year. But they're doing the whole yearly expansion thing, so that doesn't seem likely.
Yeah.
But yeah, regardless of whether or not this Rise of Iron thing is actually legit, another Destiny expansion with a raid, yes please. Like, honestly, the raids in Destiny are still just so good.
And the Division showed us that apparently no other game could pull it off.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
oh my god, like the Division. So we had cut talking about the Division from this because we both just kind of looked at it and went, bleh. But can I just say that, well, I knowing how game design process works, I am 1,000% positive that the new incursion that they're coming out with, it was well along its way, well before they released the previous one.
Oh yeah.
There's no way that they launched the they launched the previous. I don't remember the names of any of these things. They launched the previous incursion.
Or incursion, sorry.
Yeah, I forget that, like Falcon Lost or something. There's no way that they launched that and then just went, oh, all right, well, let's whip up another one real quick. No, this was in the works for a while. But, man, they're disappointing. And I think, honestly, the biggest reason they come off as so disappointing is because people have experienced Destiny's raids. And so you're like, okay, well, we even talked about it on the show. Like, we were going, okay, it's not likely to be as good as Destiny's raids because Destiny's raids are so good. So we were already, like, our hopes were not up. They were relatively low. But man, I did Falcon Lost or whatever it's called once, and I was like, well, I really never want to do this again. Like this was not an enjoyable experience.
Yeah, I think I did a couple of times, like in 1 week. When I forgot the first complete, I was like, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah.
Sorry, pouring another glass here.
That's fine. But yeah, like they're just missing that. Jesus Christ.
I know. I can't be quiet with it, so I might as well just be loud and obnoxious. So yeah, they're missing what? Go ahead, sorry.
they're missing this sort of like progression element. Like when you're going through a raid in World of Warcraft or in Destiny or in WildStar or whatever it is, like you get to a new boss, you fight a new boss for a while, you eventually kill off that new boss. It takes you a few tries, and then you move on. With the incursions, it seems to be you get to the incursion, and if you wipe, you're furious because you just wasted like an hour. At least the first couple of times that you're going through it. Obviously, as you get more used to it, then your failure rates are going to drop fairly rapidly. But still, it's like I don't feel like I've accomplished something when I've completed the incursion in Division. I feel like I just wasted a ton of time, which is why I haven't done them again. So
pretty much. Yeah. There's no exploration. There's no like cool secrets. There's nothing. And like you see the boss the second you walk in, and when he's gone, it's like 40 minutes later, 30 minutes, whatever how long it takes to do it. You're just kind of like, all right, like there's no reveal. There's no prestige. There's none of that. It just doesn't build up to anything. So yeah, disappointing. And you're right. Like the odds of them coming out with something that is notably better than the first incursion is pretty slim, given that the time frame dictates that they would have been working on it already.
Yeah. So in the Division's defense, I don't think this incursion should be looked at as they thought that the last one was good, so they're gonna do like this. This was already like so far along in development that it was going to come out regardless of what happened with the first one. Yeah. Maybe they've made some tweaks. Maybe they've incorporated some feedback based off of the first one. I don't know. But yeah, I'm hoping that the Division, and it's the biggest thing that disappoints me about the incursions in the Division is because the missions, like their version of dungeons or whatever, were actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Like for that type of content, for the sort of just drop in, play it for a little while and then leave. Like those were actually really good, and something along those lines with a little bit more advanced mechanics, and they're obviously capable of more advanced mechanics because there's one of them in the Falcon Lost incursion where you have to pick up the bombs and run them over to the thing. Like they're capable of doing stuff like that. I don't know. I want them to actually create some raid style content in the Division.
Yeah.
But yeah, Destiny. If this new expansion, regardless of whether or not the Iron Banner thing or Iron Tide or whatever it's called thing actually is correct, I still would expect them to come out with an expansion and a raid at around September anyway. So
that's about when the last one came out, I think.
Yep.
Or was it last year or the year before?
It was last year.
Okay, yeah.
It's basically it's time to when I start traveling for work.
Pretty much, yeah. And then you won't be able to take off because there'll be a launch of some sort coming, I'm sure.
So yeah, Legion launch is in August.
Right. But there's there'll be I guess I'm saying there'll be a launch of some sort coming. Whether it be a hotfix patch that you must be there for.
Yeah. Well, and also like I'll need to be working BlizzCon, and I'll need to be working esports events.
Well, don't worry. We'll just tell you how it is.
Yeah. Good. So speaking of telling me how it is, what's this thing about Gigantic and Perfect World? Because I don't know what this is.
So, Gigantic, and I put it in last week. It was. I mean, I subbed to the Gigantic subreddit. You know, I've been following these guys for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, you were really into that game.
They've definitely had some. They've had some downsizing that's happened like twice, I think, in the past 9 months or so. And so it was not looking good. And it definitely doesn't help that there's all these other games that somebody, at a glance can say, oh, well, I'll just play game X or game Y, like, Battleborn or Overwatch, Like, oh, you have all these kooky classes with personalities. Oh, that's totally this other game.
Yeah.
Regardless of game mechanics. So
there's classes in this game? Wow. What a Team Fortress 1 ripoff.
Yeah. So they one of the things that they were supposed to be doing was working with partner with Microsoft in order to bring it to the Xbone, and it was going to require Windows 10 and all that stuff, which is a pretty shitty deal for a lot of people who don't want to upgrade to Windows 10, which I totally get. But I guess they've worked their way out of that, and they're actually now partnered with Perfect World. And I know Perfect World is such a big and far-reaching entity that I won't doubt that they've definitely had their fair share of screw-ups in the past, and at the same time they've had their fair share of wins, in terms of with the player base. But still, the fact that they're not stuck with Microsoft on this deal means that Gigantic will now be available for basically every 64-bit version of Windows. Essentially, it's just going to work on Windows. So that's great news. Like that's huge, because that's a ton of people now that opens it up to, and it being the kind of game that it is, you could play it on Xbone, and I'm sure they'll love it and stuff or whatever. But it totally feels like it should be more of a PC game. Like it's definitely a mouse keyboard friendly title for sure.
Yeah. I haven't followed the game as closely as you have. Obviously, I don't sub to the Reddit or anything like that. But yeah, it like. I guess the interesting thing for me out of this is Perfect World is really, like, they keep coming up. Like they, as a publisher, they keep sort of showing. I mean, like originally you sort of looked at them as, oh, Perfect World. They just kind of port some weird Asian MMOs, right?
Pretty much, yeah, for a long time.
Yeah. But then they were, they were the sort of shell company for what was that shooter called? Blacklight Retribution.
Yes.
And that was really good. Like, that was really good. I was really, really into that game. And they
STO just, and Neverwinter Nights and a bunch of stuff. Yep.
Yeah, and they've even started didn't they produce the Dota International or something? The one that Gabe Newell got all pissy about.
Oh yeah, was it them? Maybe. Actually, that'll take 2 seconds to find out. But it's very possible to see a Dota. Geez, actually nothing really pops up, but yeah, maybe it's a maybe. It's convoluted, the search results is. But anyways, they're a huge company.
They operate because it was the Chinese International, and they operate Dota 2 in China.
Oh, there
Perfect
you go.
World does.
Okay, so that's why the search results are convoluted there. Cool.
Yeah. But yeah, Perfect World, sure, go for it. I'm always excited to see stuff and obviously Perfect World has had a bunch of games that were not great as well. I'm trying to remember. There was this Final Fantasy Tactics almost sort of game that they came out with ages ago that was all right, but it wasn't great. But yeah, having them, it's going to be really interesting to see how Gigantic works out, because they're obviously capable of supporting games pretty well. So yeah. It's exciting.
Yeah, it's super exciting, and I'm sure at this point they have to have a product that's relatively finished. I hopped into the. Can I tell you this? I've seen it. All right, and it's gotten better every time I've seen it. There you go. But yeah, it's definitely progressing, and I feel like at this point, because I haven't checked it out in a while, that it should be probably pretty far along.
Yeah, like it's been around for quite some time. Like I want to say it was announced even before Overwatch, and obviously Overwatch had like Overwatch was around before Overwatch was announced.
Oh, of course,
but like Gigantic is one of those games that it's getting into that point where it's almost like Firefall, where I'm like, wait, isn't that out yet? Like,
yeah, right. Yeah. Yep.
And maybe all of this drama, in fact, almost certainly all of this drama. Well, I say drama, doesn't sound like it's really dramatic, but maybe all of this is part of why it's been taking so long to release. So, speaking of Gigantic, by which I mean speaking of things that are very large, by which I mean speaking of numbers that are difficult to express, by which I mean irrational numbers, by which I mean infinity, Disney Infinity is closing down. And that's one of those like, wait, what? Like sort of things. Like I heard about this, I was like, really?
Yeah, it is a big deal. Like,
yeah.
go look up any Disney Infinity gameplay video on YouTube, and you're gonna find that they range from like hundreds of thousands to like millions of views. It is not a small game.
No, not at all.
And so my kid watches the videos, and I feel bad because my kid watches the videos of other people playing the game, right? It's like a commentary-free Let's Play, basically.
Face it, he watches the videos because you're too cheap to buy it for him.
Yes, it is true. and plus, he's at the age where he doesn't really know how to play games, but he's really good at navigating and watching videos on YouTube.
I bet he's probably better than you at Minecraft, though.
He might be.
That's how kids work.
That's exactly how kids work. Yes, exactly. So I felt bad because they closed down. I was all like, I wonder if it's because of the videos. I'm watching the videos, not buying the shit. But I think that the reason why they closed it down was simply because it is probably the least profitable business they have. Like this is
Maybe.
Disney/Marvel, right? Like,
yeah.
These guys are cranking out. Like, they're just printing money right now all over the place. They have so many IPs, that it's just printing money for them, that they can basically look at this and say, yeah, it's profitable, but you know what? Like, where's it going to go? Like, they have 2 more, full releases already done and ready to go. So they'll release those over the next who knows how long. And then they have a couple of, their character editions and everything for Through the Looking Glass, the Alice in Wonderland movie, and a couple others. And then that's gonna be it. And then the game is just gonna basically exist, and there's not gonna, the company's gone. Like I just think that there's like, yeah, well, we did that, and it doesn't make us, $1 billion every time we release a patch or an update or a character. So,
Yeah, it's interesting, like, because even from the perspective of, well, this makes us the least amount of money of all of our things. Like, it still makes money. So it is one of those things, like, and knowing the game industry as well as we do, like, you and I both are aware that sometimes when something gets closed down like this, the reasons are very weird and very involved, and like no one's ever really going to know exactly why, because trying to explain it is something along, like, it'd end up being something along the lines of, well, the reason we closed it down was because of this weird deal that we had with Marvel, and we weren't able to renew that contract, and so instead of attempting to pursue a new contract, which would have cost us a lot of money and then potentially caused us to not make any money off of this, like, you get into these weird, especially where legal stuff, with licensed stuff especially, like, it gets really, really messy. And who knows, maybe this was a case of Marvel went to them and said, okay, we now have 4,000 different franchises, and like Marvel's closing down franchises now too. They've just pulled the plug on Agent Carter.
That's right.
So like maybe now Marvel is just going, you know what? Our IP is now worth a lot more than it was when we originally drafted up these contracts. So your contract lasted for X amount of time. When this contract comes up, we want 3 times the amount of money for you to continue using stuff. Otherwise, you have to remove all of the Marvel stuff from your game. And for Disney Infinity to remove all of its Marvel stuff would be problematic. And of course, this is all entirely hypothetical, I should say.
Well, yeah,
I don't have any reason to believe that Marvel is why
though.
this happened.
Like Disney owns Marvel.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
that's
they
right.
own Marvel. Yeah. So yeah. So just yeah. Yeah, they own Marvel, but I think you're right though. It's like there's, and that's the thing. Everything here is hypotheticals, right? It's like maybe there is a maybe there is some brand dilution, and they're worried about that. I mean, my kid knows about various characters, Marvel characters as well. He doesn't watch superhero movies, but he knows about Superman, and he knows about like all these. Sorry, Superman. Woo, that's a comment right there just waiting to happen. He knows about Spider-Man and Iron Man and all these guys, and he knows about it because of the game. And so if this kid who's just navigating YouTube, touching whatever, and then all of a sudden now he knows about these superheroes, that's maybe they consider like the distribution aspect of it being too much of a brand dilution. Well, now anybody can be Spider-Man. Now anybody can be Iron Man. Like play as them in any context they want.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, who knows? Like, yeah, nobody knows. And the profitability thing, like that could just be projections. There's an analyst somewhere that's basically sitting down with Disney saying, "Hey, so yeah, this is awesome. It's making a little bit of money, but you know what? In 5 years, it's not." And so they're like, "Well, we have 2 more things like major releases set up, ready to go. Let's just go and cut them off now and save all that money, right?"
Yeah, like maybe that's what it was. Maybe they were expecting, like, it's been making money, but maybe they were expecting it to stop. And be like, okay, yeah, last quarter it went really well, but by the time all of this new content releases, we expect it to not be making money anymore. Sort of thing, which sometimes, especially with businesses like Disney, like the size of Disney, I should say, a lot of times those decisions are made based entirely off of projections and theoretical outcomes, because that's the safer thing to do when you're dealing with billions of dollars.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, it's very interesting, and obviously sad for anybody who's into Disney Infinity.
Oh, of course. But you know who this is great news for? Nintendo.
Yeah. All of a sudden, those amiibos. Although, how many people who have spent all this money on Disney Infinity little figures are going to be like, oh shucks, my game shut down, better spend $500 on amiibos.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right. Like how many people?
Time to buy a Wii U, said no one.
I wonder
ever.
how much money that department made. Like the just the Disney Infinity characters. Like how much they actually made, because Disney is huge and they sell those things at every, like if you go to Disneyland, it's sold in every store. In every one of their stores internally, and it's also sold in every store externally. And you go to a Target, they're borderline putting themselves into 7-Eleven at this point.
And the other thought I just had is, how many of those Disney Infinity figures were sold because of the game versus because of them being little Marvel figures? Because there's a point where you can say, all right, well, we have this game to try and sell these figures, but what's actually happening is the figures are trying to sell the game. The game is significantly more expensive to operate than cranking out these little figures.
Yeah.
I could easily see someone saying, okay, so what we should do is shut down the game and just sell figures. Like, obviously they won't be called Disney Infinity figures at that point, but maybe that's their line of thinking there.
That would suck. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Like, they wouldn't call it Disney Infinity characters because you couldn't. The whole point is that they work in the game, but yeah, huh.
Like, maybe how many people buy amiibos because they're like, oh, I want a little Princess Peach to put on my desk.
Oh man, I don't know, because I'm one of those guys. Like, I want to have like a Shovel Knight, Like, I want to have that. It's like just a character.
Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like you would probably buy that without even owning a Wii U, because you just want the little character. Or did I misunderstand you?
No. I mean, I would just collect the characters and just keep them and just have them on my. I mean, I have a small Mega Man helmet, just a helmet, like sitting on a little pedestal, like on top of my speaker. And it's just like I love that shit just to have it. But
Yeah.
That's something that Blizzard should do and not rely on like WoW 3D prints or whatever that thing was. It Warcraft prints or whatever it was called.
Well, let me tell you about the amazing products available on gear.blizzard.com.
Doesn't look like my character. Yeah.
So what you're saying is you want a figure print?
Yeah.
Because
That's what
those
it
sold
costs.
so
Right?
well.
Figure prints. I have one. I love it. It was expensive as fuck, but I fucking love it. I love it. It was worth the investment because it lasted this long, I think. Initially, I was like...
Well, that was also... Like, that was in the days when 3D printing was this, like, printing in 3D? What does that even mean?
Yeah, that is very true. And it's funny, when I look at it now, like, looking at it, it's like, God, this thing's shit-ass quality. Like, now people are printing these super fine and, like, just very crisp figurines and such. And, like, I'm looking at my character over there. My level 19 twink sitting over there with his fishing hat and his assassin blade and shadow, whatever the fuck it's called. And it's like, it looks like a brick almost, like someone just like Legos.
Yeah.
Like built it.
Nowadays, I think pretty much everybody is at least at maximum 2 degrees of separation from somebody who's really into 3D printing.
That's true.
If you don't know somebody who's really into 3D printing, someone you know knows someone who's really into 3D printing.
That is very, very true. It's tempting, too. Like, it's really tempting. They sell them at Best Buy.
Yeah, exactly.
Like in the printer department, of course. Right? Like, it's right there. It's like, okay, let's see, laser, ink, 3D. Okay.
Yeah. I'd like to buy some 3D, please. In the days when a 3D accelerator means something that accelerates things in actual 3D. So speaking of 3D accelerators,
here we go.
By which I mean, okay, where am I going with this?
This is already off to a weird start.
Yeah. By which I mean, speaking of things that haven't been used in a long time. By which I mean speaking of outdated equipment. By which I mean speaking of things that you probably shouldn't use. By which I mean speaking of things that you should in fact avoid using. So Twitch chat is the depths of hell sometimes.
As
we're streaming this on Twitch,
and as I actually have Twitch chat like on the stream itself. So this is so fitting. I love this.
Yeah. So here's the thing about Twitch chat. First of all, even the people who regularly participate in Twitch chat recognize that Twitch chat is just the worst, especially in channels with lots of viewers. Like, as your viewership ratio increases, or your number of viewers increases, the quality of your Twitch chat goes down so rapidly.
Yes.
At about 1,000 viewers, you start getting the people who are just spamming image macros and shit. At about 5,000 viewers is where you start, like, that's...
You don't even look at chat anymore.
Yeah, that's where you stop looking, or you put it on sub only, or you just glance at it every once in a while, read one word, and then go back to what you're doing. And then, like, there's people like the really, really big streamers like Summit, who will only ever respond to donation messages, and that's not because they... excuse me. That's not because they're like, oh, I'm stuck up, I'm only going to respond to people if they donate to me. That's because he gets donations so rapidly that that's all he can do is respond to those.
Yeah. Yep.
Sorry. Yeah, so the reason that I mentioned Twitch chat is because so let me preface this by saying, obviously I work at Blizzard Entertainment. I know absolutely nothing about this topic. I learned about it the same way everyone else did, through the article that went out. But apparently Blizzard is looking into some sort of thing, some prototype thing with Twitch chat. Basically they have mentioned that Twitch is working on some sort of prototype. I'm gonna leave the Blizzard side of it alone because A, I don't know anything about it, and B, I don't want to accidentally speak for people that do. But the concept that Twitch is working on some sort of additional feature to help fix Twitch chat is interesting to me for two reasons. I'm going to cough. Hang on.
For two reasons.
Yeah, exactly. For two reasons. The first reason is, like, A, what could that even be? Like, how would you actually fix Twitch chat? What extra things could you actually do? But the second reason it's interesting to me is Twitch seems to, like, through everything that Twitch has been doing, their attitude towards, yes, let's fix Twitch chat. Together we can make Twitch chat better. Their primary sort of theme for that has been, so what we're going to do is remind our broadcasters that they can ban people. And it's like, really?
I mean, okay, so Twitch chat literally got an award at TwitchCon last year. So,
yeah,
maybe
maybe stop celebrating how people are scumbags.
I mean, no. The thing is, like, you're right. As channels grow, it becomes more and more difficult to control. Even if you have and the issue where this came up, this it's like, where do you start? Okay, first, obviously, you acknowledge it's a problem. Yeah, duh. We know it's a problem. Okay, great. So second, moderators. How many do you have? Well, if you have a room that's flying by faster than you're capable of clicking on anything, then it doesn't matter if you have 50 moderators. You're going to end up banning and timing out people who didn't do anything wrong.
Like there's a point where no human being can actually no number of human beings can actually moderate a Twitch channel anymore. Yeah,
so I don't know what their prototype is supposed to do, unless it's supposed to, like, filter, like find spam and filter. But it's, I mean, if you think about how many chat communications are happening at, here on Twitch, like right now on Thursday night, probably like thousands and thousands and thousands per second.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and this is like a Thursday night. It's probably during more prime time hours. It's probably insane. During an event, it's probably just ludicrous.
Yeah.
So, for them to come up with a system that actually goes through and whether somebody's kind of watching and saying, "Oh God, look, here's another one, another meme or whatever, macro or whatever that's happening," and then they add that to the filter, and that kind of then just kind of spreads throughout their system, and now every chat log that goes through a check and it sees this. I can see that maybe helping a little bit, but still, ultimately, it comes down to when chat's flying by at a million lines per second, like how do you even start to control that?
And it's interesting because, like, when chat is flying by that fast, like, your instinctual reaction might be, well, if it's flying by that fast, then someone saying something racist is just going to get buried immediately. The problem is people just start spamming racist shit over and over and over and over and over and over again, and there'll be 5,000 people doing it in an event that's getting, hundreds of thousands of viewers. And how do you stop that? How do you stop someone with a bot spamming the same shit over and over and over again? Like, it takes one person in a stream of several thousand viewers to actually just ruin everything like that. So how do you actually solve that? They've done a couple of things that have helped, like the R9K mode is at least a good step.
Mm-hmm.
Where for people who aren't familiar, it's called Robot 9000 for some reason. R9K, where when one person says a thing, no one else can say that exact same thing for X amount of time.
Right.
It has obviously some, you can imagine situations in where that's bad. But there's obviously lots of, like, when 4,000 people are spamming, Chuck, take my energy, like, that means one person can say it and then nobody else can. Unfortunately, it's the internet, so people will just start adding dots at the end of it, and the system can't tell the difference.
Yeah. It's a great first step though. But it needs more something that's a bit more logic based to kind of take a look at something and be able to analyze it and say, okay, it's okay if somebody else wants to say this thing because it's not offensive or whatever.
Yeah, it's a good demonstration of thinking about things in ways that aren't, hey, broadcasters, did you know you can ban people? Because that's like Twitch made a statement to, I believe it was, I don't remember who it was exactly. They made some sort of PR response to some site that I was reading about this on, where they were like, yes, we are stepping up our efforts to educate people about the options they have available to them. But when you're a popular female streamer on Twitch, you cannot, no matter how many moderators you have, you cannot stop the just blatant bullshit that happens in your channel by using timeouts and bans.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. And in fact, a lot of Twitch's articles that they've put out about the like sort of educating people on dealing with stuff has been honestly kind of like, normally I feel like Twitch has a pretty good handle on the way that their site runs, but with these articles I've been like, wow, do you even go to Twitch? Do you use your own website? Because like it'll start off with things like the specific article I'm thinking of, if I remember correctly, I haven't looked at it in quite some time, but if I remember correctly, the first thing that it did was say, well, have you considered not opening yourself up to abuse? It's like, what does that even mean? Like, have you considered behaving differently so that people are less likely to insult you? It's like, okay, so should I cut my hair? Is that what you're saying?
So some people should just be less black. Duh. I mean, come on.
Exactly.
Of course.
Yeah. There you go.
Jeez.
That's your problem. Should have thought about that before you were born, jackass. But yeah, it's an interesting problem to try and solve, and I definitely don't I don't have a solution for it. No. I'm not the sort of person that would be able to develop a solution for it, but I don't have a good.
I can recognize a good or a bad solution, though.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's kind of the problem, I think, is for every solution that Twitch comes up with for Twitch chat, like within the span of a couple of seconds, you can be like, oh, and here's how you break that. And here's how this doesn't work. Here's what you do to get around this. So, personally, I want to see... Oh, dang it, I'm going to cough again. Hang on.
Jesus. You always leave us hanging with these.
Ugh. Personally, I would just like this to see the option for broadcasters to turn chat off on their channel.
Whoa.
Just disable it.
Well, no one's going to do that.
I would do it.
Chat growth.
Well, not for... I don't mean for, like, when I'm just streaming and hanging out, I wouldn't disable chat. But for a Blizzard event, like, I think it's at least worth considering. Like, do we actually want Twitch chat there? Like, most people, when you get into... like when you're talking about something the size of like the International or something, like the Dota 2 competitions, chat is useless anyway. All chat is at that point is people spamming shit. So, no one's participating or being part of a community. So they're just, yeah.
No, I see what you're saying. And you know, I watch chat. I'm probably like just kind of a more of a light casual user of a casual viewer of Twitch streams because I'm typically streaming or making content, right? And a lot of times when I see stuff, like I feel like chat is part of the experience when it comes to Twitch. It always, yeah, for me, it's always part of the experience. I think if they give the option to do it, I think that only the very biggest of competitions and very biggest of events will do it. But I think that it's something that if they were to enable, which I'm sure it's probably not that difficult. It's not asking to create a filter. It's just saying turn it off.
Yeah. I mean, lots of very prominent YouTubers turn off comments on their YouTube videos. They just disable comments.
Mm-hmm.
Because they recognize that no one's getting anything out of that, and they would rather people have to take the extra step to talk about it. Even I honestly think, like, I see people saying things like, but chat would riot and you'd lose over half the viewers. That's just not true. Like,
remove chat, but chat would riot. Well, it's like, well,
yeah, they'd be so mad to themselves somewhere. And like, the number of times I've gone into a stream and accidentally looked at the chat and then been like, oh, fuck no, turning that off. Also, I have access to lots of metrics on streams, and I know that of a stream with even as low as 20,000 viewers.
Oh, as low as. Okay, I know, that's cool.
Well, no, like for an official like company broadcast. I'm not saying that there should be broadcasters who just turn off like full-time streamers who just turn off chat entirely. Like, that's obviously a very, very important part of the stream for the career live streamers. I'm talking about for an event or for something like a developer update or whatever, where you've got 20 to 50 to 100,000 plus viewers. The number of people participating in chat is so ridiculously low that you could lose every single person every single person who is spamming in chat could stop watching, and it would not have an appreciable impact on the overall broadcast itself. Like, you just wouldn't. So yeah, that's just one that's one option for situations where you say, okay, we don't have a better solution at the moment, so we should just turn the thing off. Mm-hmm. If Twitch can come up with a better solution, I am all ears. But for me, banning people, timing out people, it just doesn't work. It just does not fix the problem.
I don't even, like, just thinking about like the complexity and how they do this, because like if you just on the surface, it's like, okay, yeah, disabling chat seems like it'd be a good idea for the largest of events. But at the same time, so many things are born in chat, right? Like, think the Bob Ross stuff. Like, that chat had like 140,000 people or something like that, and like chat was just fucking flying by. Well, you can make out what they were saying, obviously. Like, the whole ruined, saved, like, it's like all that shit. Like, that stuff was born in chat. And if Bob Ross's representative or whatever decided, hey, you know what? Maybe we don't have chat on for this. We just kind of present it as an event. And it's like, well, all of that, I hate to say it like this, but all that culture, like that little tiny chunk of culture that we all appreciate to an extent, would be gone. And so it's like, even if we're talking about, Blizzard events or a Riot event or whatever, and if they decide, they're going to turn off chat, then it's like, I feel like you're just missing out on a and it's up to them to do it, of course, if they're like, if they don't want to be associated with that kind of feature, which I get that, it's still you're missing out on a chunk of the experience. Like, when I watch these events, sometimes I'll stream them from my laptop to my Chromecast downstairs, and you just basically I could choose to stream just the feed itself. Well, a lot of times I'll stream the entire browser window so I can see chat.
Yeah. Like, I'm not saying that anyone should look at it as a de facto thing whatsoever. Mm-hmm. I know that there are situations in which chat you can know ahead of time. Like, the Bob Ross thing is a great example of where Twitch chat was not the absolute worst.
Yeah.
And so if whoever was setting that up decided just from the get-go, like, I'm going to go ahead and shut off chat for this because I'm expecting people to be toxic assholes. Like, well, they probably shouldn't have done it to begin with, because the whole point of that particular endeavor was to be a positive influence on Twitch. But like, that would have been a bad call. But I don't think that means that people shouldn't have the option. I don't think that's a good reason to say, well, but some people might turn off chat, so... Yeah, I don't know. I still think that giving broadcasters, especially ones that are doing large-scale events, the option to just turn off Twitch chat and just use Twitch as a way to broadcast their their event. Like it's very, very appealing to me, because again, like when that chat is going by so rapidly that all you can see is the bunch of people spamming racist shit because someone dared to be black on the internet. There's no value there. There's negative value there. It's actually worsening the experience for people who maybe it doesn't occur to them that they can close the chat.
Mods don't have an option to clear chat, right?
I mean, you can clear chat, but
yeah, but
it just gets filled right back up.
Yeah,
again.
You're right. It wouldn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm grasping at straws here.
And maybe another way to approach it would be to set an option to always have your chat room be minimized when people load your stream, so that when people go to your thing, they have to click on something to see the chat. Yeah,
that makes sense. That's actually, you know, it's funny. That's actually a really good, like, easy fix, like easy like kind of first step.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, maybe turning off chat entirely isn't. Maybe that's more than what's needed. Yeah. Maybe just telling people, all right, you can come here, but you have to click a button to see the chat. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that would work. I don't know. Yeah. I think it's a very tough issue to solve. I'm curious to find out what this supposedly top secret new prototype thing that Twitch is working on is.
Me too.
So speaking of things that I don't know what they are, you dropped this in the document halfway through this show.
So
I don't know what it is. So go.
So they're gonna be bringing Forge, the editor for Halo, to Windows. Windows 10 specifically. And the way it's gonna work is, while you're not gonna be able to play Halo, on PC, you can play with your friends. So you could test maps out and play with your friends. It's a really interesting setup. So first off, it's we already have a couple of Halos already on PC now, right? But this is designed for Guardians, Halo 5. So which is something that, you know, at the rate that they give PC players access to a Halo game, we won't see Halo 5 until 2025. So, Forge, you know, it's going to need Windows 10, which, you know, it sucks. But still, that opens it up to a bunch of modders. Have you played with Forge at all on Xbone or Xbox?
No.
Any version of it?
Nope.
So it's incredibly powerful. Like, think about like the Trials editor. Like, you've seen that, right?
Yeah.
So it's basically like the Trials editor. And it's hard to argue whether or not it's more flexible or not. I mean, because it's a different type of game at its core. But it's just incredibly powerful, and you can do so many cool things with it. And, you know, a lot of modders and a lot of map creators originated from PC-based platforms, right? Fucking Forge. Forge used to be PFHORGE, and it was actually for Marathon. So it was even Forge came from PC or from the non-console markets. So so for them to release it on Windows 10 is kind of a big deal, you know. And then on top of that, you can play with your friends, you know, test things out with your buddies on PC platform. Basically, kind of makes it, you know, a sliver of Halo 5 on PC, which is a big deal.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just thinking about that. Yeah, it's a big deal, but it's also super weird.
But it's like, but there's just so much. Think about TETs, right, or Trials.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
If I told you,
thinking about TETs.
If I told you that, oh yeah, they're not going to release a PC version, right? If the only thing we ever had access to was custom maps, wouldn't you be okay with that? Because that's all we ever did.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
So
yeah, it's the reason I say it's weird though is because, like, if you've put enough of the game onto the system to allow you to play custom maps, like it seems like you could just put the game on the system. Like,
yes.
You could make a custom map called The Campaign from Halo 5. And put that on there.
Yeah. That is, you're right. You're absolutely right.
and like, in before someone does that. Like, in before someone recreates the campaign as a custom map. And then people, it's just so weird to me to be like, okay, you can make custom maps, you can play custom maps, but we're not going to bring over the official maps onto this system. Like, I can understand not putting the matchmaking for the multiplayer and the servers for the like basically the core of the multiplayer experience on there, because that is a lot of extra work to potentially at least. I can see why that would be a lot of extra work to port that over.
Yeah.
But if you can play multiplayer with other people on custom maps with Forge on Windows 10, like, I don't know, that's weird.
I think it's I see what you're saying. It's weird, but it's fucking great, and you can play Halo 5 in 4K if you want to because of this.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if
true.
the textures are gonna really.
You can play Halo 5 in 1080p even. That's crazy step up from the Xbone. Yeah, it's certainly interesting. I do think it's very weird. It'd be like because obviously like Overwatch is coming out on consoles and on PC at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be weird if they were, to me, that's sort of the same thing as, all right, yeah, we're gonna release Overwatch on Xbox, but you can't play Tracer. we didn't put Tracer in there, but you can play everything else.
Yep. Hey,
it is odd.
It is. Yeah, it's odd, but I mean, it's such a powerful editor, and I'm sure people are going to be able to build some pretty fantastic things.
Yeah. Well, and maybe the result, maybe the way it ends up working out is that it's actually kind of janky, and the being able to play it on PC is only there as a test what you're working on while you're working on it sort of thing. Like maybe as like a core gameplay experience, it ends up not being very great, and it's still better for you to play it on an Xbone. And if that's the case, like if they just kind of went, all right, well, let's hack together as much of this as we can to make it function and then leave it at that, then I can understand it a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But that's significantly less exciting as an option as well. It's like, you can play Halo 5 on PC, kind of, but it sucks.
If you think about how organized the PC gaming community can be, and a great example of this would be Destiny LFG. Like being able to, we have two sites, DestinyLFG.net and DestinyLFG.com, and we have r/Fireteams, I think, and a number of other ways for people who want to find a team to play with, a fire team, to be able to do that and participate in raids and such in Destiny. If we're building sites for that, you can bet your ass someone's gonna find a way to build a site, or at the very minimum, a subreddit that allows people to connect with other people who want to participate in, whatever maps they're working on, be able to do multiplayer. Like, think about it like a dedicated server. It's like, I built this multiplayer map. Come, quote unquote, test it with me. And in reality, what you're doing is you're basically petitioning for 7 other players to get in and basically have a free for all 8-player match on this map that you built. That's basically whatever other random map. It could be something you made that's custom or something that you just basically mocked from something else. There's a lot of potential here, potential for abuse, but I think that ultimately, it's something that this is a really good first step.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's really, really cool. And I just like the concept of someone saying, all right, our game is on consoles for various reasons, but the editor is going to be on PC because, using editors is so much easier when you have a mouse and a keyboard.
It is. Yep.
Yeah. And since, for reasons that are still unbeknownst to me, there still aren't, widely accepted mouse and keyboard peripherals for consoles. It's 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 actually mind-boggling to me. Like, you, I have a PC because a lot of games are obviously they're designed for PC and they play better on PC. Mm-hmm. But I have a PC that cost me, I don't know, $1,200 versus my, like, both of my PlayStations combined cost less than my PC basically. So that I can use my $200 worth of mouse and keyboard. And I spent a lot on my mouse and keyboard as well. Like, I have this $1,200 PC so that I can use like the big draw for it is the mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, of course.
Which are the cheapest parts of a PC.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. So it's like, and in my case especially, like, I have a PS4 sitting on my desk. It would be very easy. It's plugged into my monitor. It would be so easy for me to just plug a mouse and keyboard into my PS4. And in fact, I have an attachment that lets me do that, but it's kind of janky. Like, it's still surprising to me that has not happened, where there isn't a manufacturer who's gone, all right, we're Sony, but we also want our thing to allow mouse and keyboard style gameplay. So here's a mouse and keyboard attachment.
Which is,
so yeah.
So I'm just thinking about my stupid, I don't even know what it's called, that little dongle that I have.
Oh, the Cronus Max?
Yes. Such a great device that is still as great as it is, so janky.
Yeah. Yeah, it was janky, and, like, I have one as well. It was janky enough that I gave up on it, and I was just like, you know what? I don't want to have to get used to trying to aim with a mouse, but fight against the aim assist the entire time. Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna learn to play on a controller. That's like when you say I'm gonna learn to play FPS on a controller because it'll be easier. That's,
So, one thing, and I hate to do this transition, I'm sorry, but one thing that you missed while you were gone was Doom.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
Do you have any interest in it at all?
Moderately.
So I have a shameless plug, but I have a BFF report coming out tomorrow morning that kind of goes over if you're even it's almost 1,000% like spoiler free. Not that you really wanted to buy Doom for a story.
Yeah.
But single player really is.
The story is you run around and shoot shit, right?
Yeah. There's definitely some stuff going on, but it's it's there to basically give you an excuse to continue blowing shit up. So yeah, Doom SP is like really good, man. Like just single player. I mean, everything else needs work for sure, but Doom single player is really fucking good and has a very high replayability factor for sure.
Interesting.
But you have to be like, so if you're into stealth games, not for you. Doom is the exact opposite of that. As you're probably familiar with the franchise as a whole. It's not about sneaking around. Well, it was Doom 3, but whatever.
We'll just ignore that.
It was, yeah. There's a ton of action. There's a shitload of guns, and each gun has like an alt fire and each alt fire on almost all but like 2 weapons, I think, has like 2 different alt fires that you can attach to it via mods, and then you can mod those alt fires to do different things. Like, there's so much shit you could do to kind of modify and change and tailor your gameplay. But your gameplay is always going to be run like hell and at the same time try to kill shit, various combinations of shit, waves of shit, shit in tight corridors, shit out in the open. And the environments, the environments are beautiful. There's a couple they definitely start to test your jump puzzle capabilities from time to time, but yeah, ultimately it's a really really good, it's like really fantastic experience, and the soundtrack is just if anything, like the soundtrack is totally worth going and listen to. It's not like YouTube someone ripped it because it's not available on like for download. But if anything, you can do that. But yeah, the music is fucking great. Everything is great. Single player. Everything else sucks. That's the important nutshell.
Nice. This reminded me. You know what game I'm still hopeful for, despite how there hasn't really been any new info on it in ages? That's sort of a remake as well. Unreal Tournament. I want it to end up being good. It's kind of been in this weird development thing.
This just came up recently in Discord. We were talking about this, and my theory is that first off, it's not a theory. We all know that Unreal Tournament from the get-go was used as a means to promote the Unreal Engine, right?
Yeah.
And every time there was a new Unreal Engine, guess what? There's no Unreal Tournament.
Yeah.
And that's what it was for. Unreal has gotten so good, or Epic has gotten so good at promoting the engine. I mean, think about every game you load up where it's like Unreal Engine, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They're so good at promoting that, and it's become such a... It's almost like NVIDIA, you know? Like, it's everywhere. That it's... I wonder if Epic has just decided that they're just not going to... they don't necessarily need to put a lot of money into the Unreal franchise, because why? Like, the Unreal Engine is already selling... It's already it's licensed left and right. It's already making tons of money. Making a game for it's probably not going to do anything. The other thing could be the distinct lack of arena shooters that are out right now.
Yeah, that's true.
Like everything right now, really... like right this second, it's class-based stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry, take a drink.
Yeah, sorry, I was coughing. We both picked that exact moment.
We both walked away. That's the end of the podcast right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, right this second, it's all class-based stuff.
Yeah.
And
Counter-Strike. Class-based stuff and Counter-Strike.
Right, yeah. And I don't know if you saw, but it is looking for developers, or is looking for something for a Quake-related project. So Quake being, one of the longest-lasting arena shooter-based games. I mean, Quake 3 Arena.
Yeah.
It may take something like that. Even though I feel like Unreal Tournament is basically the granddaddy of arena shooters. Quake 3 Arena is absolutely and Quake Live is absolutely the daddy of arena shooters.
Yeah.
It might take another Quake to kind of spur more interest in that, because we've tried streaming the new Unreal Tournament, the beta Unreal Tournament, which is a lot of fun, and it plays as like UT99 or in UT2K3 and all that. And it's beautiful and whatnot and all that shit, but like nobody's really interested in it because arena shooters are not the thing right now.
Yeah, I also think that like Unreal Tournament, like because it was just kind of it's almost not a quote unquote real game. It was just something that they came out with as like a hey, and also there's our new engine, like you were saying, and it was just kind of used as a way to sell the engine to other game development studios. Like I had forgotten until we were having this conversation about Doom that there was even a new Unreal Tournament since like 2K3.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I want a good arena shooter again. I want a game that just has pure deathmatch or even team deathmatch, but like pure deathmatch that you run around and you shoot people, and sometimes you get obliterated and it's your own goddamn fault for not thinking to not be in wherever it was you were saying.
Yeah.
But also maybe that's just the nostalgia speaking. Because I played a lot of Unreal Tournament. I played a lot more Unreal Tournament than I ever played Quake.
Me too. And I played quite a bit of Quake 3 Arena, not Quake Live or whatever. I haven't played any of that.
I played a lot of Quake 2.
I guess it's basically the same thing. I don't know.
But I really got hooked on Unreal Tournament.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think the reason why the new Unreal Tournament hasn't really taken off is because they just never treated it like a product.
Yeah,
they've never treated it like a product. It's always been like oh yes, we're gonna crowdsource all of our developments and all that. Like there was a really weird approach to it, and it was very clear that they just didn't want to put money behind it because it's just not something that's going to, or it's not its time. I feel like it's just not its time right now.
Yeah.
We will have our moment once again eventually.
Yeah. And I mean, Overwatch is about to come out, so my first-person shooter itch is going to be well scratched for quite some time.
Yes.
So yeah. All right. I think we covered pretty much everything important.
Me too. And I'm out of wine.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just about out of beer. And I also am not completely kicked the jet lag just yet, so I'm becoming very sleepy.
All right. Well,